I had Thanksgiving at a homeless shelter today, which was actually really, for the most part, nice. It's nice that there's Thanksgiving dinner. It's nice to put tablecloths on the tables. It's nice that everyone can sit down at one time, because usually at that shelter there are so many people that they have to actually call people to the tables, and only a certain number of people can eat at once. And you even have people it's standing room only for a number of people every single time that it's dinner time at that shelter. Usually, they will call, like, the first row of lobby chairs and the second row of lobby chairs, and then they're moving you through it. You have an hour for dinner, but it's an hour for everyone to have dinner. So people are, you're getting, the staff are moving you along. You get your 5 or 10 minutes to eat your dinner. Well, people are saying stuff like, we need the chairs for other guests. That's what dinner is usually like. So to have an actual, to have them move some of the chairs out of the way so they can put more tables, so that they can have, like an actual, and actually have people like serve you, and I know it's something people like to do. People who like to volunteer, like to do things like volunteer at homeless shelters. This is what I'm wearing. I got this sweat. This is another one of my bargain sweaters, right? Another one of my bargain shirts. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, and so it really, and the food was good, and these are good people. These are good people who volunteer to serve, all the homeless people. At least at that particular shelter, and I know that there were people at other shelters volunteer and do stuff too. But it was just funny. It's funny. there was some stuff. The thing is, of course, like any really stigmatized person or group of people, the person or people who are being stigmatized are not credited as actually having perceptions of the things that are happening to them. The only way that people think about them is as objects to be perceived, right? And that really is true. There's just no, and I think that is universally true of every person or group of people who are like just categorically stigmatized. That's really true everywhere in the world. Yeah, because there were these couple of incidents, right? So yeah, so first there's this one of the incidents was this. So there were like just a number of people. I think it was maybe a couple of families, and there was somebody standing right behind me, a young woman. I think she might have been a teenager, and she's standing there right behind me with this tray of desserts, literally right behind me, like just like the tray is like right here, and she's standing there, and she's like, "Does anyone want dessert?" And I know that the person who was sitting at the table with me wanted dessert, and so I'm saying she does. And the person doesn't hear me. And she's like, "Does anyone want dessert?" And I'm saying, "She does." And I'm saying it over, and I'm not yelling. I'm just saying, "She does. She does. She does." And finally, I look up at this young woman, and I say, "Do you hear me talking to you?" And then she apologized. She was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." But she didn't. She didn't hear me. And I was like, I was literally just a few inches away from her. She didn't hear me. She was standing right there next table. Right? And I said, "Okay, thank you." I took the dessert. I gave it to the person. So, and that was one incident, right? And then, but then of course it was just really funny, because then the next thing that happened, like, I don't know, 10 minutes later or something, was a grown woman, was standing, like to the side of the person who was on my other side, and she because they were trying to serve people like clementines, those little oranges, right? And she stands there, and she goes, "Does anyone want a clementine?" And she looks right at me, and I'm like, "Sure." She turns around and walks away. She's like, it was like, and the lady who was sitting to me, she looks at me, she goes, Did you say sure?" And she walked away. And I said, "Yeah." And we just could not stop laughing. The lady was not, these are not people who are going to the shelter to try to be mean. They're not doing that. They're not. So the lady sitting on this side of me was like trying to get people. She's like, "No, she needs a clementine. She needs one. She needs an orange." And she got me one, but I couldn't stop laughing. And I like picked it up. And we were like joking around. I'm like, "Yeah, feed the homeless people. You want it? You want the orange? You want it? You can have it." The price is right. You know, the price. I used to say that a lot when I lived there, when I was homeless. I just the price is right, right. And then this other thing that happened. Excuse me. Was this, which was kind of worse. I mean, this last thing I want to talk about. These are obviously certainly not the worst things that happen. You know, when you're in your homeless, people were just like laughing about them, and the people kept hitting my chair when they were walking past me, and nobody was saying excuse me. And it was like, I mean, I was not like off in a corner, so there was a fair amount of traffic going by, but there was plenty of room. There was like, you know, 4 or 5 feet of space at least between me and like other chairs in that pathway, and it was just, and people kept bumping into my chairs. And this was not just homeless people. Homeless people, you kind of, you know, unless you think they're doing it on purpose, which some people do, you know, because people you get some mean people anywhere. These are actually like servers, people, you know, just like people like this, they're not just bumping into my chair. Not even just like little taps, like bumping into my chair so that like the chair moves or I really feel it, not saying excuse me, not even noticing. And finally, like there was all of a sudden I just felt so many people. I just turn around and there's like 4 people pressed up against my chair. They're just all talking to each other. It's like, it's someone who works there. Someone who works, I think, at the men's and the women's side, who was helping to coordinate things. They're not trying to be mean. They're just, it doesn't matter because there I am sitting there, a guest at the shelter, right? Homeless, or they didn't know whether I was homeless. I mean, they think I'm homeless or I'm poor, and I'm sitting there, and just like they're literally 4 people like pressing against my chair, standing there while they're talking to each other. And I look up and I say, you know what would be great? It would really be nice if people would stop bumping into my chair and not saying excuse me. And the woman who works there looks at me and she basically tells me that the reason people are bumping into me is that my chair is like in the way. But she didn't say it that way. She was like, oh, well, you know, but your chair is right here. I was like, no, there's plenty of space. And the reason this keeps happening is that people don't think it matters if you bump into a homeless person's chair and don't say excuse me. And then people stop bumping into my chair. But I mean, and even that, because homeless people know all this stuff. Homeless people, they know all this stuff, right? They know how the world thinks about them. They know. This is on Thanksgiving. This is on Thanksgiving, right? And I'm not trying to be. It's nice when people do things, you know, for anyone at all. But you know, you want it? You want the orange? You want it? No, you can't have it. I mean, nobody actually did that, but it's, you know, I mean, it's the world does not think of homeless people as being real people. Even nice people tend to not think of homeless people as being real people. But we are. Mm-hmm.